Money is dangerous on one level, but it's also a good. You can't take all that you have been able to put together. You can't take it with you. And now you're going to leave it to the next generation. But the question is the next generation ready? Welcome to another video from the Life Financial Group, where we exist to help Christians become even better stewards of all of their assets. So if you have any questions from today's video, reach out to us at thelifegroup.org. We'd be happy to talk with you and answer any questions you have. Now, let's get to today's video. You've worked hard for 40 to 50 years to build your savings and investing, to work and build your business, and you have gone without, you've sacrificed, and you've worked long nights. You have done things that maybe other people haven't been willing to do in terms of your sacrifice and your effort. And today, you're reaping the rewards of a life of very good and diligent work. Congratulations. It's so exciting to get to this phase, but now we're here. Now we've got to think about the reality that you and I both know that at some point the Lord's calling you home, and that you can't take all that you have been able to put together. You can't take it with you. And now you're going to leave it to the next generation. But the question is the next generation ready? Are they prepared to be good stewards? In this 4-video series, I hope to help us understand that leaving an inheritance is much more than simply transferring money from one generation to the next. That leaving an inheritance is about leaving a stewardship legacy, transferring stewardship skills along with the resources to accomplish what God is calling you and your family into. Before we get into the meat of today's video, what I'd like for us to think about is 2 quotes from some Puritans back in the 16 and 1700s. One is from this guy right here. His name is Thomas Brooks. He wrote a book called Precious Remedies Against Satan's Devices. And I was reading this, I got to page 30, and this is what Thomas Brooks says. Adversity hath slain her thousands, but prosperity her 10,000s. That's a very interesting idea, that adversity, hardship, lack is a problem, and it causes significant amounts of challenges with one's faith. But he goes on and says, but you know what's even more problematic than going without? Prosperity. Prosperity in itself has a significant impact on the heart and the mind of the individual. This actually leads me to another quote by a gentleman named Cotton Mather. And he said this: religion brought forth prosperity, and the daughter destroyed the mother. These 2 quotes illustrate what the Apostle Paul is trying to teach us about money from 1 Timothy chapter 6. In 1 Timothy chapter 6, he says this: for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Through this craving, some have wandered away from the faith and have pierced themselves through with many pangs. Money is dangerous on one level, but it's also a good. God created money good. This verse doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. So the question that you and I need to think about today is, what are we doing to help the next generation of stewards love God more than money, to be prepared to use wisdom as it applies to the use of our money, so that we can leave those funds to the next generation of stewards, step into heaven and hear, well done, my good and faithful steward. First, let's get to some statistics. Did you know that it's estimated by the year 2045, $84.4 trillion, $84.4 trillion will be transferred from the current owners to the next generation? A lot of people call this the Great Wealth Transfer. It is the single largest transfer of wealth ever in recorded history. This is an opportunity for immense growth and also a spiritual challenge and a spiritual risk for those beneficiaries who receive these funds and who are not prepared for it. The first thing I want to remind you about is that we are called to be a good steward, which means we also are called to choose wisely the successor stewards of those resources. So bear that in mind. Prayerfully consider your beneficiaries and are they ready? The question then isn't if they're not ready, do you disinherit them? No, the question is, what do you and I, what do you do, what can we do to help your children be ready for the inheritance? It involves prayer and perseverance and determination and proactivity. The very worst thing that anyone could do would be to die and leave the money and hope that they figure it out. What does the Bible say about leaving an inheritance? First of all, leaving an inheritance is a good thing. We see from Proverbs that a wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but a wicked man's wealth is stored up for the righteous. There's another very interesting passage in Psalm 78, verse 4, that talks about the importance of us not just sharing wealth with our children, but to make sure that we're training them and teaching them about the importance of who we are and the God that we serve. It says, "We will not hide them from our children, but will tell them to the coming generations the glorious deeds of the Lord and his might and his wonders that he has done." It goes on and says that the next generation might know them, the children yet unborn, and rise and tell them to their children, so that they should set their hope on God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. We see that as parents, we have such an enormous responsibility to not just share valuables with our kids, but also our values, the stories of our lives, the stories of God's faithfulness. So an inheritance is a good thing, but making sure that we're leaving a spiritual legacy, that's even more important. And then maybe one more verse that I think could be helpful for us in this. We all know the passage of Deuteronomy chapter 6, that we're to talk to our children and train them while they're growing up in our home. But even more than that, from 1 Timothy, again, chapter 6, at the end, he says this to Timothy about those who have wealth. He says, "Now charge those who are rich not to put their hopes in the uncertainty of riches, but to trust in God, who richly provides them with all things to enjoy. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, and generous and ready to share, thus storing up for themselves a good foundation for the future, so that they may be able to take hold of that which is truly life." That is the role that you and I get to step into as parents, trying to help shepherd the hearts and the minds of our children to love and trust God. The problem with wealth is that wealth tends to bring out what's on the inside. It tends to reveal our true character. We have an opportunity here to help instruct and build the character and the love of our children, again, entrusting them to the Lord. You have no power over your child's heart. You have no power to make them believe a particular way or a particular thing. This is where, as committed Christians, we commit our children to the Lord. We live faithful and committed lives to Him, and we walk in integrity before our children, holding them up in prayer. Believe me, at this point, prayer is the most important thing you can be doing for the heart of your child. And we have to remember that receiving wealth doesn't automatically make your child a good steward. So what do we do? Parents at this stage really need to focus on making sure that we're building into the hearts and the lives of our children several things. There needs to be some basic level of financial knowledge. Do we understand how to budget, how to save, how to prepare for the future? Do we understand how to have delayed gratification? These are such critical skills to be able to move into life no matter what size of inheritance one gets. So is there financial knowledge? Is there a solid work ethic? Do they know how to work hard? And do they understand the value of a dollar? Do they understand contentment and generosity? Are they always looking for more? Are they generous with the resources that they have? Again, we can't enforce generosity. We can't enforce contentment. We can model it, we can teach on it, and we can pray for it. Do they have a biblical worldview? Are we providing them the opportunities to grow and structure their lives around such a worldview? Obviously, the earlier we start these things, the better off, the more likely they are to stick. And ultimately, the most important thing we can do is help our children develop responsibility. To not shift responsibility on someone else for their own future and their own choices, to make wise choices, and to take responsibility for the results. When most people do inheritances, they tend to amass all of the wealth, die, transfer the wealth, and hope it all works out well. That tends to be the way most people do it. And as you can tell from my facial expressions, it's probably not the wisest approach. There is a better way. I personally like the framework of give, observe, teach, give again. You see, giving at your death, you have no opportunity to be a voice of counsel and encouragement, maybe even of coaching for your children. But during your life, you still have that opportunity. So give to your children now. Give them some financial responsibilities. In this case, it would be helpful possibly to do a matching savings program, to put money, if your child puts money towards a retirement plan, you could match it up to a certain dollar amount, $1,000, $2,000. This encourages them to demonstrate the habits, building the kind of habits and the mindset for successful financial lives. So give them some money now and see how they handle it. So that's the observe phase. What are they doing with the money? Now, obviously with our grown kids, we don't see everything that's going on, but there are certainly some things that we can tell. Are they spending it on just things that are maybe frivolous or maybe wasteful, harmful, or are they getting out of debt, building their cash reserves? Are they saving for retirement? Are they taking care of their life's responsibilities? See, we're looking for signs of good wisdom. So you give, you observe, and you teach. All of these things become great teaching moments. Teaching them about generosity, teaching them about savings and the power of compound interest, teaching them about how to delay gratification now for a bigger gratification later. These are skills that we as parents can instruct. And as we go through this process of give, observe, teach, and give again, we do get a chance to try again, to give maybe a little bit more responsibility, see how they act, see how they respond, so that they might grow in their stewardship abilities. Because one day you'll be giving them the keys to the whole shebang. The risk is high. The importance is high. The potential damage of wrong choices is high. So we have to make sure we train them now while we're alive. And remember, here as we wrap up today's video, there's a bigger priority than simply giving your children money. You have the opportunity, you have the responsibility to help develop a stewardship mindset and a stewardship heart in the lives of your children. This is the opportunity that makes the great wealth transfer for families that are prepared, for beneficiaries who are trained in the ways of stewardship to use their wealth for the glory of God, to use their wealth to fund kingdom work, to take care of their family, to establish businesses that will change the world for good, to fund evangelism, to fund missions, to fund churches, to fund ministries. There is so much good that God is going to do through you and through your family. Trust Him, pray for your children, and you and I will sit back and watch all the good that God will bring out of your faithfulness. Until next time, take care. Thank you for joining us in today's video. As always, reach out to us at thelifegroup.org to schedule your free stewardship review and answer any questions you may have about the topic discussed in today's video. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless.
The topics discussed in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations. Investing and investment strategies involve risk, including the potential loss of principal. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. All information herein is from sources believed reliable, but is not guaranteed for accuracy or completeness. The team assumes no liability for any errors, omissions, or actions taken based on this material. Information is as of the date stated and subject to change without notice. Securities and advisory services offered through Genius Wealth Management, member FINRA and SIPC.